Okay, welcome to the Node.js Diagnostic Working Group meeting, January 25th, 2022. We'll follow the standard agenda in the diagnostic issue number 523. To start with, any announcements? Anything that you want to share?
Stephen is in the attendees.
Okay.
Oh, he did make it.
Hello.
Hey, Stephen. Stephen, can you hear us?
Yep.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yep. Hey, Tony, welcome to the working group.
Hi, everyone.
Do you want to introduce yourself? I guess you're joining us for the first time.
Yep. Yeah, just my first time here, so I'm just a bit curious about how do you process things in the working group, as I'm really curious about all the diagnostic stuff. So yeah, just to listen at first, and then if I can contribute, help in any way, write documentation or things like that, I will be really happy to help. So,
Okay.
yeah, basically that's it.
Thanks. And welcome to the working group. Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, so let's go with the agenda items listed. The first one is 521, which is add using Clinic heap profiler step.
Yeah, I have added it just to discuss about. I think that Mary has expressed some I don't know question about if we should list or not third-party tools as a key recommendations inside our documentation. So heap profiler was recently landed. It makes some good stuff with the memory through the flame graphs, and I suggest to add it to the memory documentation that we are creating so far. But I'm not sure about it if we should or not recommend third-party tools. So it's more a discussion, I guess.
Yeah, I don't see any issue with the third-party tool as such. If you look at the listing of our tools, many of them were originally developed as third-party tools. For example, the diagnostic report or the heap dump itself, but later got standardized or inducted into the core because of various reasons, such as improved performance, improved support, LTS, and things like that. But if the third-party tool is already qualified with all those criteria, there is no reason why we should induct them into the core, and I don't see a problem we endorsing them. The real question we should be asking is, do they really do the job?
I have a little bit of a different opinion, kind of going back to NPM and Yarn and all the stuff we've had with other third-party tools. My only concern really isn't whether it does the job or not, because it does more than what people normally do. So overall, it'll be a net improvement. It's the looking over Clinic, it's still controlled by Nearform entirely, and I'm always hesitant, even if I work at a company to be like, use this company's tool, even if it's free.
Yeah, actually, it was transferred to open source, but it's still the
It's still
maintainers is
copyright
mostly
near
from,
form.
yeah, exactly.
So
It's a valid point.
because if it's copyright near form, that means we, as the project, for example, can't guarantee that we could change or update it.
Yeah, valid point.
But like, that's just like a minor thing. The rest, it's better than what people do today. So it's good.
So I think that might make sense to establish some criteria. I mean, if the project is open source and is not copyrighted by any company, we can list or something like that.
Uh, Even if it's copyrighted by another company, as long as they provide a license, it's fine.
Okay, so yeah, for me makes sense. What do you think, Jirish?
Yeah, I mean, what Bradley says makes sense. I mean, the recommendation based on the merit and capability of the tool is one thing. Secondly, the freedom of choice of the users should not be confined to a specific organization or its license agreements. So from
This
that
one's at
perspective, I
MIT,
don't know.
which is good.
Sorry.
This project at least is MIT, which is fine. But I haven't audited all the third-party depths within it to make sure that they're all good. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so I will make sure that all the third party or other dependency inside Clean Key Profiler is MIT licensed. In case, I will open a PR, but also I think that might make sense to update some document just to make sure that the further, I don't know, incomes will be restricted to this license agreement.
yeah, and you only need to check it for the actual dependencies that ship, not dev dependencies usually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
All right. Anything else on this topic?
I think that is good. I will just make a comment inside the issue, and then we can close it.
Okay. Next one is 511, which is document async hooks types purposes.
Okay, yeah, this is also mine. I wasn't in the last meeting, so basically I was facing some troubles with async hooks because I need to track some events, but there are some types that was not documented. I mean, there is only the type name, but not the definition. What is this about? I think that I mean I just added to the agenda to discuss if it is a diagnostic scoped issue or something like that. The idea is to provide some documentation, like just improve the documentation about the async hooks types.
That seems fine as long as we can mark stuff as experimental or subject to change. I do know people can inject their own types that are not normally available. I don't know how we want to track those.
Yeah, actually, the async hooks types in the documentation shows a lot of types, but those types don't have some description. I mean, I don't know what I know what is FS event wrap do those, but most of
But
the users might
like,
not.
I don't think we're gonna stabilize the properties on them, if that's your question.
Okay, okay, got it. Yeah, makes sense.
We could stabilize properties and provide definitions, but there's no guarantee that they won't change over time. And I don't know if we have a status for that. Like our API status is the closest it would forever be experimental. Because in any even minor, it could add or remove properties. This doesn't
Okay.
happen very often though. So documenting them is probably fine, but it would need some kind of test. Yeah, you'd have to have a test against the documentation somehow, I think. Otherwise, it's just gonna go out of sync pretty quick.
Just to be clear, you mean that those types in the documentation, it is experimental. I mean, they can.
They're not stable.
Okay.
They're not really experimental. They're internal. Maybe would be a better way to put it.
Okay.
Like
Yeah,
they may get new properties. The properties may change types. We're just not guaranteeing that they will stay the same from release to release.
Okay. Okay. You mean that then the new types might missing the addition to this documentation, and then we are out of date, right?
Yeah, so the documentation could be generated from the types, or a test could be made against the documentation to make sure they stay in sync or something like that.
Okay.
I'm not really gonna go out and do that personally.
Yeah.
It does bring up a good point though, that we might just want to mark them as these are not ABI stable in any way. Because most of the other stuff, most of our API is very stable. We don't change it except in some of our major, these are not stable in that way.
Okay, I think that it's fine to let it open, but I mean, don't do any work until we, I don't know. It's hard because we don't have anything working in this front right now, right? So
We don't
it
have
might
any
be
docs
open.
on it, no.
Yeah.
Personally, I would just be more clear in the documentation that's just define type as like it is just a string. It is something. It could mean anything, but say like this is a list of things you might get, but like it's just a
not
list of
really
arbitrary things. It could be anything at any time. So don't like
We could
take it
just
as a
mark it
contract.
as any type, yeah. We could just mark it as an unknown or any type if you want to go for that language.
Yeah, I think that makes sense to just improve the documentation, just to expose to the use. For me, at least, I was not aware about the keystone type definition. So
Tony, you had a point? I thought you raised hand.
No, I just want to know if there could be an ideal way to make things. For example, that each time that a new version is built, that we can gather all the information and update the documentation automatically. If it could be possible, or we could imagine that. And it probably
Yeah.
can reusable for each of this kind of stuff. Or maybe it's I'm too.
No, it's certainly possible. We actually do this roughly with primordials already. We don't put it in the documentation. We put it in our type definitions when we generate them.
Okay.
so it is
Yeah, maybe.
possible, but
The problem is just like I don't think we want to document necessarily exactly what all the things are. Just because it's going to change at any arbitrary time. Like there could be a patch release and something changes, and that, like, if we project this as like this is an API contract, that's a bad way to be doing things. But if we're like trying to be clear that like, no, this is just a bunch of labels, it could be anything, like don't consider this as API contract, then that's more what we're trying to go for, I think.
Yeah, because we don't want to get to a situation where we can't break these. Like when these need to break, they absolutely must break their API contract. So
We want to stay free on this and doesn't have to be coupled to a situation where we have to be backward compatible on the previous strings that we have. That's your point?
not just the strings, any value that these produce has no backwards compatibility guarantees. None.
Thanks.
So I will remove it from the agenda again, but I will comment in the issue that there are two main major suggestions. That is, the first one is generated types based in documentation, but there are some downsides. I mean, I'm not sure if we want it, as Stephen mentioned. And the second one is pretty more simple. That is just update the language of the type documentation. I mean, make it explicitly that the types might change, and also it might be a custom type. Don't rely too much on that.
Okay, thanks. The next one is on the meeting time. Probably we can visit it towards the end. We can quickly go through the other technical items, if it makes sense. 502, which is user journey tracking documentation, again on Rafael.
1 second. Okay, I think that this one I can just remove from the Jag agenda, because it's just to mention that the tweet that we have discussed was merged. Actually, we have Tony here because of this. I think that we can just remove the label and make the issue open until someone takes some tasks and make it work.
Okay. Yeah, but yeah, for the awareness of Tony, this is one of the work in progress item for the diagnostic working group. And as you can see the progress, there are items where contributions are appreciated. We do have some form of content lying here and there. It's a question of pruning, curating, and translating the user journeys into consumable documentations. So have a look at those, review that, and ask questions directly in the issue, or we can discuss that in the next setting, whichever way is convenient to you.
Okay.
And the next one is 437, identify async hook use cases beyond async local storage. Probably Stephen.
There hasn't really been any movement on this for quite a while now. Might want to just take it off the agenda, but yeah, we had like that tweet at one point and got like a couple responses about it, but I don't know if we really got enough responses for any useful idea of what people are doing with it. Not really too sure what the next step is from there.
Okay. We had published a blog or journal soliciting use cases beyond a single local storage, didn't we?
Yeah, that was what I was mentioning with like a blog post, and we tweeted about it. And
Okay.
some people went and commented, but not too many. We didn't really get any more use cases than what we had written up already. I don't know if like we're kind of like on a path before to like depending on the feedback, decide if we want to just like deprecate async hooks, like docs deprecate it, or like mark it as legacy or something, and like do something from there, but not too sure what that something is yet.
Okay.
For a sec, I know at least at work we have a desire to make another proposal for another type, that we do use async hooks for a specific workflow, and we haven't found a good way to discuss or abstract it yet. So
Yeah, there's a handful of things that async hooks currently solves that async local storage doesn't, which is fine. We just need some additional different APIs specific to whatever the needs are, but we need to figure out what those needs are and distill that into the API. And like eventually we will hopefully have enough coverage of all the needs that async hooks itself, we can just tell people like, don't use this instead.
Makes sense to me. Okay. Anything else on this item? No. Okay, then the last item in the agenda is meeting time 507. Thanks for all those who provided the convenient time in the doodle. I see Bradley's voting is not included. Bradley, can you have a look at that and please mark your convenient time?
I will. Okay.
And Tony as well, if you plan to attend the meeting on a regular cadence. Otherwise you can ignore it, because this time of the this time we are trying to identify a convenient time that will fit everybody's needs.
Yep, I think that I will let it like this because I want to introduce too much noise. I think that it will be already complicated for you to find the best way. So I will try to adapt that first and
Okay, thanks.
make it like this. Yeah, you're welcome.
That's pretty much on the agenda. Any other item to discuss? Probably we should look at the doodle again once all the data is filled in. I'll make my observations in the issue itself, and we can discuss it in the next meeting. All right. If nothing else, that's pretty much for today's meeting. Thanks everybody for joining, and talk to you next time.
Thanks.